Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Second City podcast. My name's Daniel. I'm here as always with Callum. Almost as always, anyway, because obviously it's been
Yeah,
a couple of weeks since we did one of these. You can blame Callum for why we were away
yeah.
last week. So, Cal, explain yourself.
Yeah, well, we had it all planned out so perfectly. I'd go on holiday, we'd have an episode in the tank, and we'd come back the following week like nothing ever happened. And I went and got food poisoning on the Sunday night after the Villa Man United game, and I was not really with it on Monday and Tuesday, so the podcast had to go to one side. I was asleep, and that was it.
Well, you're feeling better now, though, yeah? Feeling much better.
Much better, much better. I'm
Good,
actually
good.
eating again now, so we'll take it.
Good, glad to hear that. And you had a good time skiing. You survived the Alps or wherever it is you went.
Yeah, yeah. So we went to quite a few ski resorts in Austria. One of them you may have heard of, Kitzbühel, the quite famous one. They do a
Afraid
big
not.
No, they do one of the big skiing races happens there if you're into skiing. Um,
I mean, you competing in that?
no,
Okay.
there's like the main like run down, which is what they compete on, but then there's like an easier way, like you sort of zigzag through the mountain rather than just
Got you.
down. But
Yeah.
yeah, couple of war wounds, but nothing broken. I'm alive.
Good, good, good. Glad to hear it. Um, but yeah, so we hope everyone enjoyed the Steve Bruce episode we did the other week. Bit more obviously it's been especially for Blues, there's been a lot of games since we last did one of these. So we'll try and catch everything up and get up to speed. A lot's happened. Obviously some big news at Blues this week. And obviously a few twists and turns in Villa's season. So it's all been very interesting and a lot to catch up on. Um, but we'll start as we always do with what we're wearing. And Cal, who's going first this week, me or you?
I think I'll guess yours first this week because I feel like
Sure.
we'd been the
Bit
other way
easier.
around for a while. Um,
Sure.
I recognize this shirt and
Is it?
obviously the very famous X-Tech branding. What is it? Is it a fish and
Yeah,
chip investment on the front?
it is. It is, yep. Home
Yeah.
shirt.
So
It's got the
I'd
sort of, for anyone listening, it's like the sort of V like
yeah.
on the across the chest, like Man United had a similar one around the same time.
Yes, they did, yeah.
Mm.
Um, well, I think this one's quite easy because that I believe is the kit you won the League Cup in, which would be 10-11.
It is, yes, and it's of course, on my famous kits poster behind me, just in the bottom corner here. Yeah, this is the 2010-11 home shirt. And it will be next week will be, I think it's next Tuesday, will be 13 years to the day since we won the League Cup, which has flown
13
by.
years. That is
Yes,
actually
13
insane.
years.
Like I
Yeah,
remember
it's
that so
crazy.
well.
Yeah. Obviously probably the most famous individual day in the club's history. Kind of obviously there's been, I don't know, it's kind of not much I can say about it that isn't recounted by every Blues fan ever, but it's like beating Villa in the quarterfinals at night in the snow, Zigic scoring, you know, 84th minute. I've actually got a oh no, I'll come to that in a sec. Zigic scoring 84th minute, and then um obviously we beat West Ham 3-1 in the second leg of the semi-finals to win 4-3 on aggregate, and then beating Arsenal at the final at Wembley. I was going to say a minute ago, Zigic, I've got a mug of the CFAX style of the Villa game, but it's actually the cup final Arsenal. That's the one I'm thinking of. I've got that. Yeah, beating Arsenal 2-1 at Wembley. I'm just, oof, I'm kind of mad where that's gone and all that time has gone. Yeah, some great memories. A great team like Stephen Carr as the captain, Ben Foster, Roger Johnson, Scott Dan, Barry Ferguson, Lee Bowyer, Kevin Phillips, Cameron Jerome, Nicola Zigic, Seb Larson, Keith Fahey. Yeah, just like a really great, as a kid especially, like a really like inspiring team and stuff. Um, which makes it all the more baffling that we then got relegated in the May as well. Um, Way too good to go down, in my opinion, that team on 39 points as
I was going to
well.
say you
These
had
days
quite a
that
lot of
would,
points to go down on as well.
yeah, that these days that would comfortably keep you up. But and obviously we haven't been back up since, so it really was a hugely, a flag post season, a signpost season in our history, really. And kind of the it kind of life as a Blues fan compressed into one season, really, kind of the ups and downs of it. Um, but I think a lot of Blues fans would agree with me. I'd never trade in that cup win for the for survival or anything. Yeah, but no, those those cup memories, the quarterfinal, semi-final, final, just live on forever, really. So yeah, I thought a week early, but wear it in tribute to the League Cup final, the League Cup season. Thought I'd wear 2010-11 home, yeah.
You're
And
bringing the big guns out at the moment, Dan.
yeah, I am. Yeah, obviously behind me here, I got the phones for you and a couple other classics back there as well. But you've gone very old school. Uh,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
home. It looks like and it's got the old badge, like the circular one, which the current badge is kind of based on.
Yeah, this
Uh,
would have been an Umbro kit. This is a
yeah, it's
remake.
a remake, isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, claret blue collar with a popper on it, not a button, a popper. It's got like this tr downward
Hmm.
triangle sort of pattern, sort of faded into the claret, and then there's
I
some weird
think
claret detailing on the sleeves as well.
I think it's 90s. I'm gonna say
Mitre Copiers sponsor.
yeah, I'm gonna say 1993 home.
Oh, that's a great
Yes.
shout. It's a really good
Is it?
shout. So it's 1990 to 1991 home.
Okay, not far off.
So you're not far off at all. Believe it or not, I don't remember this season because we weren't born.
We
Um,
weren't born, no.
no, but the one game that this shirt has been to was a win when we beat Burnley a few weeks ago, just on the day before New Year's Eve. Um, so it's got a 100% win record, which means it can definitely go to games in the future at the moment. Unlike my Petrov shirt that I've worn before, that's never going to another game ever again because it always ends in tears. But
Sure.
this this season in particular, so the year before we finished runners up in the old first division, and then we finished 17th with 41 points. We You needed to be 19th to get relegated to the second division. So we were about 7 points clear of going down. So a bit of a come down really from the year before. We only won 9 league games. Um, Second round of the UEFA Cup, fifth round of the League Cup, and the third round of the FA Cup. So it was a really poor season. The top goal scorer was David Platt, though. He scored 24 goals. So very crucial in sort of keeping us up. And the manager back then was Josef Vengelos, a Slovak guy.
One one who's fell into the history books, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Never heard of him, yeah.
he's a footnote along with the likes of Remy Gard will be in like
Yeah.
15 years and like Di Matteo.
Yeah, of
Completely
course.
forgettable. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not very long before the Premier League actually started, where we finished second in the very first year of that. So this season's very much an anomaly for kind of how good we were around that time, really. So,
Mm.
but the kit is an absolute banger. It's a shame it's not an original, but I love this shirt. One that would do well with a modern remake.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot about it probably is like a generational thing, but like the 90s kits kind of coming back into fashion and stuff. And I'm surprised clubs aren't getting more on like specific 90s remakes. I think that might be a trend that really kicks in as the decade goes on, maybe. But I'd definitely be up for that. Some of the Blues Triton Showers kits, yeah, man. Let's see some of that.
But like West Ham did a really nice tribute kit, was it 2 or 3 seasons ago when they remade like the old Doc Martens sponsored shirt, and that's like the perfect way to do a modern classic
Yeah, of
remake.
course.
As well as like we've had one, I think I wore it in the McLeish episode, which was like an Under Armour modern remake of an old away kit, and it was like it's an okay attempt, but they didn't really go for it, and so it's like a bit half-assed. Although
Sure.
it's a nice enough shirt, but it's not. You wouldn't look at it and go, "Oh my God, it's a redo of that kit."
Yeah, of course,
Um,
of course.
but yeah, we'll see what Adidas can bring to the table next year. I'm very excited to see.
Yeah, so you said Umbra made that kit originally, though.
They did, yes.
Cool, fair enough. Um, very interesting. Shall we get into the real news this week? Onto the what's been happening and so on. Just start with Blues or Villa?
I think we should start. Do you want to start with the Tony Mowbray stuff? Because
Yeah, of
that's
course, yeah.
yet again, Dan, you're going to have another manager in the dugout this
Yeah,
season.
so we'll have had across including interims, we'll have had 5 managers this season.
You've
So
had more managers this season than we've done Second City Story episodes.
yes, so we'll have had Eustace, Eustace, Rooney, Spooner, Mowbray, and now Mark Venus. But obviously, circumstances very different this time. I don't know about you, it's took me completely by surprise. I'd imagine most people, to be fair. Yeah, so the club have put a statement out saying that Mowbray basically is going to be away for a few weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, they reckon, on medical grounds. So I'll just read a little excerpt of the statement here. So Birmingham City can confirm that Tony Mowbray requires medical treatment, which means he will be temporarily stepping away from the on-site management of the club for approximately 6 to 8 weeks. Assistant manager Mark Venus will assume temporary responsibility for the team with immediate effect. And Mowbray said this was following his recent League Managers Association health assessment. And before he returns, or whilst he's away, Venus will be supported by coaches Ashley Cole, Pete Shuttleworth, and Mike Taylor. But he says he will continue to provide advice and counsel whilst undergoing treatment. And then the statement concluded with Chief Exec Gary Cook just wishing him well and a speedy recovery and so on. So we haven't really got, even though it's obviously huge news and obviously means he'll be away for the bulk of the run into the end of the season. Hopefully we see him back in the dugout before the end of the season, obviously. It says 6 to 8 weeks, but I assume with these things, you never know, obviously. Despite it being such huge news, there's not really much we can say about it, obviously. Other than obviously from both of us, we hope it's nothing serious. We wish Tony and his
Get
family
well
well.
soon, Tony.
Yes, get well soon. Yeah, we hope it's nothing serious, and obviously puts all the football into perspective and so on. So obviously everything we say going forward comes with like the asterisk of obviously in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important, you know. Because obviously, you know, Tony's health and so on is the main thing. So yeah, get well soon, Tony. It'd be a shame not having him in the dugout because I think the fans have already taken to him really quickly. But obviously, got to do what's best for his health and his well-being and so on. So absolutely the right thing to do. Um, so yeah, but means Mark Venus is going to be filling in for him. Mark Venus has been with Tony Mowbray as his assistant basically everywhere he's been since they worked together at Hibernian starting in 2004. He's followed him everywhere. If anyone is, you know, primed to basically be Mowbray, it's him. And I'm hoping from a football perspective, it just galvanizes the team more than anything rather than disrupting anything further. Um, so in a football sense, I'm not too worried, to be honest. And I think we've proven in the last couple of games how much we've improved and how much things are looking up and that these players can do it and can get us over the line and can get us a respectable league finish before the end of the season. Um, so yeah, get well soon, Tony, and we'll get back onto kind of the results that have been going on recently to give it a bit of perspective. I think the last game we covered up to date was the FA Cup fourth round, I think, was when Leicester beat us 3-0,
Yes, it
which feels
was.
like ages ago now. Yeah, it feels like ages ago. But since then, so we've had a few games. We lost to West Brom away 1-0, which was frustrating because we've beaten Baggies 4 times in a row, and always love winning that game. But a little bit unlucky, not a great game by any means, really. So yeah, a bit unfortunate to lose that one. We lost 2-0 to Sheffield Wednesday on a Friday night. Easily the worst performance under Tony Mowbray's tenure. Yeah, and even then, it wasn't like some of the performances we saw in the Rooney era. You know, we were still making chances and so on, but to lose to a Sheffield Wednesday
Sheffield
team.
Wednesday, yeah.
Sheffield United are pretty bad as well, to be fair, at the minute. But to lose to a Sheffield Wednesday team that were like second bottom and were leaking goals for fun and having a really poor second half was disappointing. And I think that's the only point in the Mowbray tenure where things have there's been a lot of like people have been really unhappy after a game. Um, but since then, we've had 2 home games. We played Blackburn and Sunderland, obviously two of Mowbray's former teams. So we played Blackburn or a week ago, recording on Tuesday, it would be a week ago tonight. And we won 1-0, played really well. Should have had 3 or 4 probably. Tyler Roberts, who otherwise played well, missed a few absolute sitters, I gotta say. Um, but actually, new signing Andre Dazelle scored a late goal, 76th minute, I think it was, and just huge relief around the stadium with that. And then on Saturday, we followed it up against Sunderland. That's where I got confused there. And despite going 1-0 down, we turned it around to win 2-1. So 6 points from 2 home games in a week huge improvement, up to 15th now, and it's just about kicking on from here, really. But I was really impressed with the second half against Sunderland. First half, I think we were comfortably second best. Um, Give a silly goal away, which Jack Clark capitalised on a defensive mistake to score. But we just showed all our character in the second half, and goals from John James and Koji Miyoshi turned it around for us. And it was really so. It's the first time we've sold out since we played you last time in 2019. First time St Andrews has been sold out since then. Um,
Crazy.
Obviously, in the
But
circumstance
it's
of the stadium being fully
circumstantial
open.
because it wasn't open and COVID
Sure,
and
sure, sure. But we probably wouldn't have anyway. Our crowds haven't been great the last few years. Um, and it was really special, like when that winner went in, seeing like the Tilton like completely full and bouncing. It was really special when that winner went in. Um, and just performance-wise, things have felt a lot more positive, and some of the new signings coming in have really made a difference. In the midfield too, we actually played an unchanged team as well across the Blackburn and Sunderland game, and the midfield two of the new signings, Pek Sung Ho and Andre Dizelle starting has made such a huge difference. With Dizelle, I was a little bit, I wouldn't say I was, yeah, it probably is fair to say I was skeptical when he came in, not in like a, absolutely, I'll give him a chance, absolutely see him for myself, but I wasn't like, wow, it wasn't like a wow signing, because if he's not getting in QPR's team, who are right down there at the minute in the relegation battle, why are we taking him on loan from them? But he's almost exactly what we need. He's a really progressive defensive midfielder, goes deep to get the ball and will spin and get the ball further up the pitch in, one motion or like one movement. It's really helped with our like build up play. And then Pek Sung Ho, he was kind of at fault for the goal against, well, he was at fault for the goal against Sunderland, give the ball away, tried to pass to Mark Roberts, and was a kind of a light pass, and Jack Clark ends up getting the ball and goes to score. But other than that, he's been absolutely exceptional. Great passer of the ball, it looks like, spraying passes around, not scared of a tackle, very composed. And so I'm really excited to see them two more going forward. I think it's really promising, and bringing in them two and Pritchard in this window is obviously Pritchard's injured at the minute, but that the midfield has really strengthened in that window. So we are a better team now than we were before January. Um, so yeah, in summary, just a really positive week for the club, despite obviously this news with Mowbray. Um, and I am optimistic now going towards the end of the season. I think it will be about. We're not obviously. I say obviously, you never know, ever know in the championship, but we're not going to get playoffs. We're probably not going to get top half. But it's just about, let's just get over the line. Let's have a strong into the season, as strong as possible. And in the summer, we've got a lot of players out of contract, I believe, in the summer, who, by all accounts, are on big wages. Players like Etheridge, Hogan. I think Mark Roberts is out of contract in the summer. Gary Gardner. I think Jukovic is out of contract, but that would break my heart. But so so the summer could be like a real rebuild opportunity and reinvest a lot of money to go again for hopefully a much better season next season. But I'm wearing the 2010-11 kit, and if I've learned anything from that season, it's until the job is done, don't plan ahead too much, because I remember we had 38 points with 6 games of this season left, I think it was. We picked up 1 point from the last 6 games, and we got relegated on 39 points. So we went from no chance of it going down to going down. Um, so yeah, until it's done, um, yeah, not celebrating just yet. But in terms of man of the match, even though he made the mistake for the goal against Sunderland, I'm just going to give it a general across the 2 games. Pek Sung Ho, really impressive. He'd be like a joint game man of the match. Just so impressed with him. And my 3-word, I'll give a 3-word week review. Exciting times ahead is my 3-word review. Would be my review.
and a grade.
Uh, hmm. I'd say for Sunderland, I'd say B plus, B plus, just for
We're,
like the full
we're
house.
doing B
Is that a grade?
pluses.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Is a B plus? No, it's not a thing, is it? I'll say a B then. B feels a bit harsh maybe. Only because Sunderland were much better than us in the first half, but once the goals went in, it was a great atmosphere. 3 points, massive deal. So yeah, I'll say a B. I'll say a B.
Yeah. We can't be doing this plus and minus stuff.
Sorry, yeah, I just get convoluted then. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
weeks since we did one of these. Forgotten what the format is.
If it gets there, we can have an A star.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, but A star is a grade, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
That's like a separate grade, yeah, of course. Um,
Doing the classic grades, not this rubbish numbers
oh yeah,
they
what
have
do they do
now.
now? One to
Yeah.
nine or whatever it is. Come on. Um, but yeah, so that was Blues on the pitch. What about your end, Villa? You played Fulham at the weekend.
Yeah, so we'll go back in time a little bit. When we last did a normal podcast, I completely forgot about the Newcastle game and didn't mention it. Um
Yes, you texted me afterwards. We're playing Newcastle tomorrow night. I forgot. I
yeah.
completely forgot.
Probably for the best because it was not a great night. Where we lost 3-1, and we didn't get going for a good 60 odd minutes, and then the last 10 minutes we sort of tailed off as well. Um, if it wasn't for an offside goal, maybe we would have got back in the game and got nicked a point. But a real missed opportunity against the Newcastle team that are really not. They're really struggling with their injuries, and so that was a real missed opportunity and a bit of a wake up call that we were in a bit of a slump. Um, but then we went and smashed Sheffield United away from home. I talk about how we hadn't won there since like 2018, and we what 4-0 up at half time, won 5-0, very comfortable victory, where we were fantastic across the board.
Was it 5-0, 5-1?
They had a disallowed goal in like with
Oh, was it?
5 minutes to go. It was a
Fair enough.
toenail offside, sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
um, and so the good vibes were back. And then we went and had a really, really, really disappointing night in the FA Cup. In the replay against Chelsea, we were 2-0 down inside 10 minutes and again lost 3-1. So we'd had this really good home record where if we'd have beaten Newcastle and then Man United, um, we'd have gone a whole calendar year without defeat at Villa Park. And then we ended up
Ooh.
with 3 defeats in the next 3 home games. The Chelsea one was just as bad, if not worse, than the Newcastle game. We never really looked like getting back in the game. Um, Granted, the third goal should never have stood because it wasn't a free kick, and then Enzo Fernandez scores an absolute world class free kick. It's absolutely top draw. Um, but that game was a write-off. The effort I went to watch that game in Austria was for nothing. But maybe
You
next.
said you were doing you said you're doing shots every time the
Oh,
goal went in or
yeah, we
something?
would do it. Yeah, because I dragged my mates and my mates' dads to come and watch the game. I'd already done it for the Sheffield United game, and then for the Villa game, we said for every goal that goes in, we have to do a shot of schnapps, and we were 2-0 down inside 10 minutes. Then the third went in, and like we were obviously drinking anyway, and we didn't want to do any more. And then Musa Diaby scored in the last minute. I've never not celebrated a Villa goal so much. Like I didn't want to have to
Yeah,
do another
sure.
shot. If we weren't getting back in the game, I didn't want us to score.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, that was a disaster. And then we had Man United at home, huge game where we played absolutely brilliantly for 80 minutes, maybe 75 minutes. And in the 2 periods that sort of bookended the game, we weren't amazing and we were punished for it. Another day we'd have comfortably won that game 4 or 5-1, and it's not an exaggeration. The chances that we had and the chances that we missed. Of course, that could have taken us 11 points clear of Man United as well. So to lose the game, especially so late on, with such a real poor goal to concede, despite the absolute quality cross from Dallo, that was really disappointing. But then again, in typical sort of Unai Emery fashion, we really bounced back again after a poor result. We played Fulham at the weekend, where with fans, we haven't won at Fulham in a long, long, long time. If you exclude the lockdown year where we won 3-0, I couldn't tell you the last time we won at Fulham. Not a happy hunting ground for us, of course. It was arguably the worst night of the season last year when we went to Fulham, which was Gerrard's last game where we lost 3-0. Had a man sent off and own goals, penalties, everything that went wrong that night, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong that night. And it ended with Steven Gerrard getting sacked in the tunnel.
Yeah.
But this time, like a complete contrast though, this time where the good vibes are in the club. The team are doing well on the pitch. I thought we were absolutely brilliant. Made it a bit more hard work for ourselves than we should have done. We were very, very comfortable and well worth our 2 goal lead. And then we've conceded a bit of a sloppy goal out of nothing. And all of a sudden put ourselves under quite a lot of pressure in the last 20 minutes of the game that we really shouldn't have done because we were in complete control and Fulham hadn't really threatened us at all. And all of a sudden we were maybe like panicking and worried that we might not get over the line. But Emi Martinez bailed us out a couple of times, especially late on against Adama Traore. I'm so glad Adama Traore didn't score against us. That would not have been a fun time. But very, very positive. Because we conceded, we didn't keep the clean sheet and made it while we made it a bit hairy for ourselves towards the end. We gave Fulham sort of a kick up the backside and the fans got going and all that. I will only grade it a B. If we'd have kept the clean sheet, it definitely would have been an A, but it'll be a B. And my 3-word match review will be back on track. So I'm hoping that we are. It seems like we're on the right lines. We've had 2 good performances in a row. We're hopefully coming out of that slump. Man of the match. Oh, it's a toss-up. There's a few candidates in there. I thought Matty Cash played very well. John McGinn. I'm probably going to give it to John McGinn / Ollie Watkins. Watkins scored the 2 goals and they were very good clinical finishes. But I'll give it to John McGinn. I think he wasn't on like the official like Villa 4 players, but for me, I thought he was brilliant. He was in that defensive midfield role because we've got no Kamara anymore. And I thought he did a job brilliantly. And then when we needed to see the game out in that last 15, 20 minutes, he was just fantastic at that. There's not many players I'd really want to help see a game out than John McGinn when he's up for it and he's like just throwing himself into tackles and like he gets the ball and he'll just like stick his ass into someone just to like waste a bit of time and keep them away from it. And he's a very unique player in that regard. So
Sure.
I'll give it to him. But it was massive to have Pau Torres back. He was sublime. He was absolutely brilliant. He's a Rolls Royce of a centre back. If you can excuse my usual
The Tim
football,
Sherwoodism
yeah,
there.
like
The Paul Merson coming out in you there.
he's such a huge part of how we play, and so to have him back is absolutely brilliant. So we'll bring on Forest this week. It's going to be my first game of the year, so
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm buzzing to get back down to Villa Park. So
Fair enough. This puts you up to, are you 4th again now? Back up to 4th?
yes, because the Dogheads did us a favour against Spurs.
They did, yeah, they did. The
So
Dingles did a
yeah,
Not to be
so
disparaging to any Wolves fans listening, I'm sure.
yeah.
But um,
No, but
no, fair enough.
obviously obviously we're starting to get into that final sort of quarter of the season, or final quarter of the season now, near enough. So, I mean, all the games are big games and massive, but like we've got in the next 5 or 6 games, we've got to play Wolves, we've got to play Spurs, and we've got to play Manchester City. They're all coming up on the horizon. So, a trip to Luton away in a couple of weeks isn't easy either. So really important period, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Right, so shall we dig into some housekeeping, Dan? What's going on down at Blues?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually didn't have, other than the Mowbray news this week, I actually didn't have too much really other on the housekeeping until about half an hour ago when I saw the news that again just completely this was completely out of nowhere to me. Kevin Long has left Blues. Um, which was yeah, just when it just completely takes you by
Yeah.
surprise. Yeah, I knew nothing about this, hadn't seen any rumors about it. But yeah, Kevin Long, our centre back, who signed for us in January 2023, so just a year ago, really, has signed for Toronto FC in the MLS. Um, I mentioned earlier a number of players that are out of contract in the summer, and Kevin Long is one of them. So I don't know if the logic is to maybe try and get a little bit of money for him before we let him go on a free. I'll read a little bit of the statement for you. It's nothing really that you wouldn't expect, but it just says Blues can confirm that Kevin Long has moved to Toronto FC on a permanent transfer. He joins for an undisclosed fee, ending a year-long association with Birmingham City. His efforts helped secure the club's championship status with 3 games remaining last season, ahead of him signing a new contract last summer. So it confirms it's an undisclosed fee. Implies, there is money involved, almost
Probably
certainly.
not a lot though.
No, probably not a lot. But all I can think is the club obviously think he's a little bit surplus to requirements at the minute, and we can make do with one centre back less until the end of the season. Um, so it's kind of the two sides of it. I actually really like Kevin Long as a player for us. He's not. I can see why as we go forward under Mowbray and we look to play more progressively and playing out from the back a bit more and a more possession-based team, I can see how long-term he doesn't fit into that. So I'm not saying we necessarily should have kept him around for next season. Um, but I would have thought he's just a good person to have about from now until the end of the season when we still have these kind of limitations in how we're playing. He is just an old school back to basics defender who really can do a job. Obviously under Rooney, he barely figured at all. And has came back in under Mowbray, and as when he's played pretty well. But on the flip side, I can understand it if the club think they can get a little bit of money for him. In the meantime, Mark Roberts has been playing again recently alongside Bielik at centre back. Obviously, by moving Bielik back to centre back, we've kind of gained an extra centre back, I guess, as well. Cody Dramer can play at centre back. I think Dion Sanderson's back from injury very soon, if rumours are to be believed. So I can understand if they think he's just surplus to requirements. Kind of a rare case of a player joining in one January and leaving in the next. That is quite odd, I think. Like he didn't actually do it. He was with us for a year, but didn't do a full season with us. I find quite strange. Um, but yeah, in a short time, did well for us. Always did a job for us. I also thought he was a bit more of a bit of an experienced head, a bit more of a leader on the pitch. I think something we've really noticed recently with like Sanderson being injured and Duke was injured and obviously doesn't really start many games anyway. We really don't have many leaders. Sunjic has actually captained us for a few games recently, which I find mental. I do quite like Sunjic, but he's definitely not a leader. He's definitely not a captain.
Strange
Um,
to pick him over Ruddy, you'd think.
yeah, yeah, Ruddy sometimes does it, but again, he's been injured a little bit lately as well. My point being, a couple injuries, and we kind of don't really have many options for leaders. Um, but yeah, I get it, but a little bit of a shame. But I wish him well in Canada. I'm sure he'll do. I'm sure he'll be a good player for them, hopefully. And yeah, we move on.
On the Villa side, oh, do we have something? Do I have something juicy for you, Dan?
Mm.
Um, and probably gets more juicy as we go. We'll start with the good stuff, which is obviously Leon Bailey got a new contract while we were on our little hiatus. Well deserved. He's probably been our player of the season so far. He's almost certainly going to win that come the end of the year. And it's good to tie him down. Not sure whether there's a release clause in it or not. There was a few rumours that if a big club come in for him, then there's a fee in there. But we'll keep an eye and see how that goes on. But at the very least, a new contract for a player increases and retains their value, which is the most important thing. Should we move someone like Leon Bailey on in the summer or the year after? As much as I don't want to move him on, it's good that his value has arguably gone up than it was going to be. On the negative side, obviously the injury front. So Boubacar Kamara confirmed ACL. He's out for the season and for the start of next season, which is a devastating blow, really. Um, Obviously we moved Dendonka out on loan. Um, and so in terms of defensive midfield, he's a big loss. And I talked about a few weeks ago how over the Christmas period, his 3-game suspension was really costly. So we'll have to see how we get on as we go. We just have to deal with it and crack on. As I said, John McGinn's done a very good job there, and he did a good job there last year as well. And weirdly, we've never lost under Unai Emery. We've never lost a game where Louise and McGinn have been the two holding midfielders. So we'll see if we can keep that up till the end of the year. In the Sheffield United game, Ezri Konsa got injured. There's no word on that being an ACL, although there was a few murmurings about it, but the club almost certainly would have announced it if it was. So hopefully that's not as bad as we think it is. And Diego Carlos has done his hamstring, so he's out for at least a month or so, and along with the long term absentees of Emi Buendia and Tyrone Mings. So we are in a bit of an injury crisis and we are a bit threadbare in quite a few places. I mean, there was a lot of worries that Pau Torres might not be fit against Fulham. Thankfully he was, because otherwise we would have seen Callum Chambers make a rare Premier League start. But yeah, so hopefully we can get Konza back, but we don't know how bad it is. The other stuff is, so there's been some allegations around Chris Heck. So I'm going to word this very, very carefully. So this is kind of what we know. So a leaked letter to the fan advisory board and I believe to the FA was posted onto Twitter by an account that had started up called AVFC Staff. Whether there's legs in it or not remains to be seen. It sounds like there's a bit of legs to it, judging by some of the other people that have commented on it. So it's alleged HR matters are not being handled in line with UK law. It's also alleged that examples of illegal or inappropriate practices by Chris Heck, who is our president of football operations, and Ben Hatton, who's the COO, the chief operating officer. Some staff have been forced out or have allegedly been forced out or not welcomed back after sick leave, for one example being mental health reasons. It's alleged that staff who have resigned have been reportedly told to just leave that day, and that apparently Chris Heck has attempted to not pay them for their notice period. A series of female staff have apparently left due to feeling marginalised and disrespected. Apparently, Ben Hatton has gone on to hire 3, and I quote, pals, to high operating staff and contract jobs with no HR process. Apparently, the new crest that we've talked about before was designed in September 2023 before the fan consultation process. And executives were having a photo shoot in ties emblazoned with the new crest in December, which is obviously around the time when the trademark got leaked. And that the new crest has been sold to stakeholders on a lie that shirt sales for this year were down. Although I would like to add into that, whether that's true or not on the shirt sales point of view, I think it's fair to add that the controversial BK8 sponsorship, along with the current economic situation we find ourselves in and the price of football shirts, would probably impact on them possibly being down, rather than just the new crest, which I think people have, taken quite well. And apparently the other main highlight was that Chris Heck wants to remove certain members of the fan advisory board because of what they've said to publications about the changes in crest and the processes behind that. So quite severe stuff. We'll see what happens and with that. If these allegations and this letter is true and is genuine by staff at Aston Villa Football Club, then it needs to be taken very, very seriously, and questions Chris Heck and Ben Hatton really need to be looked at. If it's not true, we don't know, and it is a possibility, then someone's playing a bit of a sick game, and well, we've fallen for the bait. But that's kind of what's going on. So something to keep an eye on. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely keep tabs on that. Cool. Should we move on to this weekend's matches, Cal?
Yes. Let's get on to the more optimistic stuff. We
Yeah.
are both playing at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. What
Wow,
a time to
for the
be
second
alive.
week in a row.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Enjoy it while it lasts, Dan, because the Europa Conference League is starting up again in a
Yeah,
couple
it's
of
coming
weeks, and
back.
we're going back to those Sunday 2 o'clocks.
True, true. You mentioned it earlier, you've got Forest at home, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going.
Yes, yeah, I'm going first game of the year. Buzzing to go. Really excited. Don't really know what to expect from Forest, really. That they are still down at the bottom. And they did have that sort of new manager bounce under Nuno. But then they sort of slumped again, but they had a good result. They beat West Ham at home last weekend. So yeah, they are a bit of a rogue. You don't really know what you're going to get from them, I guess. They've got some, players like Elanga, Awoniyi, and Callum Hudson-Odoi can turn up and cause problems one week and then be absolutely useless the next. Morgan Gibbs White I rate very, very highly, and he will be a threat and a danger. And he's ex-Wolves as well. So if we can not let him score, that would be I'd appreciate that. But yeah, I think hopefully we're in this, we're going back up again after a difficult winter. Um, as I said, this is a really important few games in the run up to when we play Spurs, and obviously we're ahead of Spurs at the moment. So we win our games, we're still going to be ahead of them when we come to play them. We don't want to be losing this week, losing to Luton the week after, and all of a sudden we could be, 4 or 5 points behind Spurs and putting even more pressure on that game when we don't really want to have to do that. So we'll see. I'm hopeful. I'm going to predict a 2-0 win. I back us at Villa Park, even though we like lost the last 3 games at Villa Park out, which has been a bit of a rarity. I think we'll turn it around. So we'll go for a 2-0.
Yeah, it pains me to say it, but yeah, I would very much expect you to get 3 points against Forest at home. Um, we're
You've
away at
got
Ipswich.
Ipswich.
Yeah, I went to Norwich away earlier in the season. I don't think I'll be doing the East Anglian trek again. There's a long, long way. Um, not this season anyway. Um, yeah. So obviously, as I mentioned in like the Blues recap, we're in won our last 2 games. Things are quite positive. Obviously, Mark Venus and the coaching staff will be taking charge of the game instead. Um, I think it's a bit of a misconception at the minute that Ipswich are in free fall or
Yep.
something. Obviously, they were second. They were in the top 2 for so long, and then they went on a run where people kind of assumed they were really falling away, really dropping off. And for what we've seen of them this season, yeah, I guess relatively speaking, they were.
And they had a really bad FA Cup defeat to Maidstone as well, which
Yes,
in
they
the
did
middle of
actually.
all
Yeah,
that didn't help.
yeah, true, true. I did forget about that actually. But they're still so Leicester are top, and I feel like the brackets are like it's them top. Then the next 3, which in any order, Leeds, Southampton, Ipswich, and then there's another clear gap between fourth and fifth. West Brom in fifth, and the chasing pack there. Ipswich are comfortably in that top 4 still. And there's this perception that they've kind of really tailed off. They've only lost 2 of their last 10 games. They've only lost 4 games all season, which is remarkable, really. Even Leicester have lost more than that. Um, and they absolutely smashed Millwall, I think it was, away last week, 4-0. And then they beat Swansea away as well, 2-1. Um, obviously, we're recording this on Tuesday. They're actually playing tonight. They're playing Rotherham at home, which I would very much imagine they'll win. Um, Obviously, from a Blues perspective, tiny little advantage that we get. Obviously, we're not playing midweek. Hopefully, gives us an extra few days rest. But I'd very much expect Ipswich to win that game. I don't really know why Rotherham bother coming up. To be honest, I don't know why they're bottom every time they're in the Championship. Um, so I, not to be negative, if we get anything, I think it's a bonus. I don't expect us to win. It'd be amazing if we did, and you never know, of course. They draw a lot of games at home, I've noticed recently. A lot of those draws they picked up tend to be at home. I think they've only won 1 home game since the turn of the year. Um, but yeah, no, they're still a high quality team. Kieran McKenna's done an unbelievable job there this season, their first season back up in the Championship. Um, if we can get a draw, brilliant. But if we lose but keep these performance levels up, then I'll take that. It's a tough couple of games coming up with that, and then I think it's Southampton the following week. So yeah, 2 really hard games there. Um, but if we can keep the performance levels up and give a good account of ourselves, then I'll, that's something at least. So yeah, Ipswich away for us on Saturday.
Tricky game. Tricky game.
Yeah, for sure.
And in
Yeah,
difficult
absolutely.
circumstances as well. So you never really know what
Mm.
you don't know it's a real unknown, I suppose.
Yeah, completely, completely. We played there when we played them in the reverse fixture. It was the first point Rooney got, I think, when we drew them 2-2, and it was really quite a ferocious game, in a good way, exciting game to watch. So hopefully it's similar this weekend. We were looking out to beat them actually. We were 2-0. We were 2-0. Yeah, we were 2-0 up, weren't we? But yeah, that's on Saturday anyway. Should we call it a day, Carl?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that just about wraps us up. Yeah, if you're new to the Second City podcast, do hit that subscribe button on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. Something that I always mean to mention at the start and I always forget, so I'm going to mention it at the end. Not that it really matters anymore, but for weeks going forward, if you are only really interested in the Villa side or the Blues side, or just what shirts we're wearing at the start, there are timestamps, especially I know on YouTube and Apple Podcasts in particular, you can easily jump around the podcast to the bits that you definitely want to hear. But I recommend you listen to it all. And also go and listen to our Second City stories. Obviously, we did one 2 weeks ago on Bruce, which I think was really, really good, if I do say so myself. There's ones on Hotter, Heskey, and McLeish. So go and check them out. And then just follow us on TikTok and Twitter and all that. What's the handle, Dan?
It's Second City Pod, so that's 2ND City Pod, and yeah, you can find us everywhere with that: Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
believe.
We haven't quite.
No, that's it. Sorry, no, we're not on everything.
We're not on Instagram. We haven't quite got
We're not
around
on
to doing
Instagram,
Instagram
no.
yet.
Or
If someone
Facebook
wants
or
to,
anything.
if someone wants to be our social media guru just for free,
Yeah, our
then
influencer.
then hit us up because it'll take some of the pressure off us too. But yeah,
Absolutely. Our busy schedules, yes.
yeah. Anyway, Dan, I'll catch you next week. And
No worries, mate.
all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Shit on the Villa, keep right on, and see you next time.